Hello, welcome to Merriment Mondays live. So glad to be here. I feel like everything's working, getting all these glitches sorted out, and I want to talk and start as we always do with our magical merriment moments. And I've had a great couple weeks and want to talk about some of the wonderful things and hear about what you have experienced as well. So, some of the things that I got to do this past couple weeks, because we're doing this every other week now, every other Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, is I hosted a end of summer workshop themed around Lamaze. There's different basically in between every solstice or equinox, there's like a halfway point in between that. So I was hosting it inspired by those themes, and it was really fun. It sold out, and I had all these wonderful people over, and I got to meet so many new people and make all these new connections. And we lit a bunch of stuff on fire in my backyard. We had like an actual, like a Viking funeral for it. I had a little boat and we put a bunch of stuff in there and we let it burn and we watched it. And it was really great. And we did a candle meditation, and we journaled, and we made all these little like spell bags. It was very witchy, honestly. It was cute. And what else? This and that right there is the picture of a couple of us. We all took selfies together with like some themed props and stuff. It was really fun. And I'm already hosting another one, and I posted it just 2 days ago, and in 24 hours, five of the seven slots have already sold out. So there's only two slots left. So pretty cool. And the testimonials were really great. I'm really happy with it. So the next one is I was out shopping, and God, the dollar store is killing it with decorations. And I was checking out, and I'd been thinking about my friend Katie all day, and I was checking out and I was thinking, like, how am I going to carry all this to my car? Like, I didn't expect, I went in there to get a couple things for my dad, and it would have been fine with just the bag that I had, but all the Halloween stuff was out. And honestly, it's just so amazing. And it inspired me to actually throw a Halloween party as well. So now I'm throwing one of those too. And I had so many bags, and I was like, it's gonna suck because they had those carts, that they have like the poles on them where you're not able to take the cart out to the parking lot because I guess they don't want people to steal the carts. So I was like, I'm gonna have to make so many trips to the car with all these bags. And I turn around, and my friend Katie is just sitting there. Like, she's standing there and she's like, hey. And she's like, give me the bags. And and not only was it weird that she was just there and I'd been thinking about her all day, but then she appeared like literally right when I needed someone to help me. And her husband were out shopping looking for suspenders for a costume, and it was so great. And I've just missed her so much, and I'm so glad that we're back hanging out. And that's me and her. I was just like, hey, wait, it's so weird. Let's take a picture together. And then I went out and I kept looking, and I found suspenders, and I found where they were when they went to dinner for their like pre-anniversary dinner. And I came back and I gave them the suspenders and hung out with them and talked a little bit. And it was just lovely. And then what's the last one? Oh, well, I've been doing a lot of things. I hosted, or no, I didn't host. I participated in a local arts fest. It was called the Overly Arts Fest, and the theme was kaleidoscope. And I installed a couple things there. So one of them you can see here. It's these CD garlands, like old school CDs. It's so funny how many children didn't know what those were, and they were just a shiny object, which I guess essentially for a lot of people that's what they've become now. But they were really great. It was an interactive installation where people could write on them with paint markers and take them home, and or walk through them and just enjoy the way that they looked. And I also made these large color wheels. There's two of them you can kind of see right there at the front of them, but I also made different shapes with cellophane and kind of had them as little like things that you could see throughout this really wonderful park, which is a hidden gem here in Baltimore. If you're here, it's called Holt Park and the Center of the Arts, and I would never have known that it existed if I didn't participate in this project. And I did a couple other things. I made some really wonderful signs, and I made this large thing that I called a prism portal with cellophane. And yeah, it was fun. And getting paid to do art is quite wonderful. And I think that Overlay Arts Fest has a lot of really wonderful potential. I also met some really cool people. This girl in the middle here, Kelsey, she was there, and I invited her to the workshop. And then weirdly enough, a couple of people that came to the workshop, they didn't meet me at Overlay Fest, but they were also working there. And then they found me later through Facebook, but not because of Overlay. So it was just a really interesting, magical place. Okay, enough of that. I would love to know what you have experienced in your week, in your last couple weeks that was magical, wonderful, grateful for, made you happy. And let's move on to news. So this just in. Good news, good news, good news everywhere. So in my life, I saw this like fun thing on North Avenue, which is if you only know anything about Baltimore with The Wire, North Avenue, a lot of it was filmed right there. It is what it looks like. But when I lived actually very close to North Avenue, so I'm not scared. And those like big signs that have marquees, and they're usually demonstrating to change lanes or something like that. I was driving and I saw that they were saying like strange words, and they said things like, here, let me get my phone out because I didn't post the video. I just posted the one word that said radish. Let me get the whole list because it was quite funny. So one of them was just brackets, and it was a colon, an apostrophe, and 4 brackets. One said thriller, one said radish, one said ROWL, rowl, one said okay sure, one said 100 PC, so cute, one said hi y'all, and there were others. And I know that some of these are, at least half of them are street artists. They're tags that I see frequently around the city. So it's possible, I mean, obviously this had been taken over by someone, whether it was deliberately or with permission, I don't know. But I know that a lot of these were people with that were street artists, guerrilla artists, tags. And I'm not sure about like the ones that said things like okay or like, you know, the parentheses and things like that. So I don't know about that, but it was quite funny to see. And if anything, I just liked seeing the word radish on a thing. But did you know that these are actually like almost impossible to photograph in the day? I had no idea. When you go up to take a picture of them, it just kind of becomes nothing. It's almost impossible to photograph or video. It just, you only see like one line of the marquee. So we had to come back at night to get a picture of it. And I mean, that kind of, I mean, it talks about like our topic today of creating art, like doing it any way that you can, any way that you want. Who says that this is different or not art? This is art. This is amazing. And another good news story that I found out in the wild, quite literally, is this woman, Brianna Elwell in Texas. She made squirrels a resort spa because they were struggling with the heat and drought. And that's what you're seeing here. Look at this. I love it. I love it so much. Okay. Now, if you are, if you're feeling kind, you can hit the like button on this video. That would make me feel good. And also, if you want to make sure that you know when the new videos are coming or they are announced, I'm going to have to announce the September videos very soon. So you can subscribe and you will get those notifications. You can also click the little bell on there if you want to get very specific notifications. Now, speaking of what's coming up, I am in a week and a half going to be teaching a free seminar. I've got a lot of events coming if you're local, I've got a fall workshop coming up on September 21st. If you are That's Mitzi in the background. I have a Halloween party coming up. I also have, if you're not local, you can come to this body acceptance seminar. So, and this is free completely. So, this is about overcoming self-criticism and embracing your unique body. So if you're tired of constant self-critiques, that inner voice that's mean, negative thoughts about your body, and you want to just like, you don't even need to get to body love, right? We're not even talking about that right now. We're talking about just not judging, maybe just acceptance, right? Like neutrality. Then my free workshop of how to accept your body and overcome self-criticism is here to help you and guide you on this, like a transformation, right? That's really what we want, right? In life, we want to change. Ultimately, we say, at least we say that we want to, okay, towards self-love and acceptance. And in the seminar, we're going to learn how to identify and overcome self-criticism, challenge unrealistic expectations, and cultivate self-compassion and embrace your unique beauty, okay? And what you're seeing right here are testimonials from previous workshops. So people have helped see, these are going very fast. Loved every second of this. I'm such a good teacher. I changed their life. Their body feels smooth and clean, feel more energy than they did before. Big thank you. Completely changed your attitude, feeling warmth and softness in my body where there was tension. My life is honestly so much brighter. Feel so much more relaxed. Encourage you to take this course. Really appreciate how quick this was. It was life-changing. You've turned a must into a may. Comfort, feeling solidarity and community. Okay, so you can check more out on the website. If you want to join and get your free spot, the ticker down here is showing you what to do. So uncustomary.org/accept. Okay, ACCEPT. Or you can just go to uncustomary.org and you'll find it there in the menu and on the main page. So it's September 7th on a Saturday, and I tried to make it at a time where it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, you should be able to come. So I think it's 12 p.m. on a Saturday, Eastern time. And if you're earlier, or if you're later, I'm sure there's a time zone where it's going to suck, like if you're in Australia, but it's the best that I can do. So, come and learn and get a free workbook and, get more community, get more people and learn, create, acceptance, create transformation, create healing. And I think that is something that we want. Okay. All right. So this week's topic is about making more art. All right. So creativity is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun, said Mary Lou Cook. Not this Mary, another Mary, but we are all the same person, aren't we? So today we're going to talk about the introduction to the creative journey. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. All right. But let's start with the introduction to the creative journey, just the creative journey in general. So understand that the creative process is as trite as it is a process and a lifestyle. All right. And there's challenges that come with everything, including this. It's not easy to be an artist, which we all are. I mean, I think there's so much resistance still in us when we think that we are not an artist still, right? Like we're like, oh, it's not me. I'm not an artist. I'm not creative. I'm not I don't know, like I'm not the person that I want to be, because that's a dream that's lost now. Like that's not for me anymore. Maybe in another life I could have been an artist. Maybe that could have happened, but it's just not what's happening now. Like I have to be real. I have to be realistic. That's a pipe dream. Da 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 da. And first of all, it doesn't need to be the way that you make money. It doesn't need to, like, I think that there's a real misconception with the idea that you that it has to pay bills for it to be rewarding or something, or for it to be real. There's this person that I met at a workshop years ago, and she's so talented, and she's a painter, and she quit her job and she made painting her job, and she did it very well, but it wasn't like making her enough money to live in the way that she wanted to live, or the way probably most people would want to live. It just wasn't working in that way. She didn't, whether you want to argue that she wasn't doing it well enough in a business mindset, or whatever. It just, there wasn't enough money, okay? And there wasn't enough time for her, for whatever reason, to wait. So she got another job and she started calling herself a hobby artist. And there was a lot of feedback I saw on her social media from people saying things like, "Oh, don't call yourself a hobby artist." And they were like, "You're so good. You're so good. Don't call yourself a hobby artist." And I was like, "But she is now, though. Like, logistically, she is, by definition. Why is that bad? Just because she changed what she's doing or how she's making money, why does that change this painting? This is still a painting of a tiger, and it's just as good as it was when her goal was to pay her bills with it, and it's just as good now if she sells it and it's for extra money. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? The point is that there's still a new painting of a tiger. And I want us to make sure that we understand that the point isn't if you're famous or if you are paying your bills with the art that you're making. The point is if you're making new art. And you might have very specific goals about being famous or how much money you can make with it. And I have zero problems with either of those. Those are things that I want very much. But if you are also fine with being someone who makes art and makes money in a different way, then please do not let that be some sort of stumbling block for you before we even begin. Because that's one of the biggest hurdles I think for us to overcome is like, I can't proclaim myself an artist unless it is the only purpose of me, unless it is the sole thing that I do, unless it is somehow intertwined with my finances. That's not true at all. And the lifestyle of your art and being an artist, being a creative, has nothing to do with money or status or anything. It's about feeling and creating and doing it over and over and over again. So think about why you're here. Think about why you joined this. Think about why you're watching this, and what do you hope to gain from this? Like, why, when I said to let's talk about making more art, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? What do you want to take back from this? What is your goal? Like, have you never really made time for making art? Did you do it when you were a kid and you kind of like just wish that there was time? You feel jealous of people that can do it? Do you feel like you know there's a creative aspect in you, but you have no idea like what modality that it would take, like what method it would go towards? Or you're like, I don't know, should it be like jewelry or photography? Do you have so many different kinds of passions that you have no idea where to focus? So you get distracted and you don't make time for it at all. You get overwhelmed. Do you, I don't know, like, do you just not make time for it? Do you know what to do and you're just not doing it? Are you procrastinating? What is it about creativity that you feel hung up on? So that's also a challenge, is actually naming the thing. And then having a goal with it. Like, I think sometimes, even in my life, I get so hung up on the idea of merriment making as an overarching broad umbrella that I get lost with like, what specific goal am I working on? Is it a book? Is it a podcast? Is it an event? What is it that I'm doing right now? What is it that I'm working towards? And what is my big end goal, right? So if you don't have a goal to work towards and it's just, I want to be an artist, so then you really need to be very specific about what is it that you're doing. So we can talk about micro movements, right? But then if you have no idea what you're moving towards, those micro movements not only won't mean anything or get you anywhere, but you won't even know how to begin or what to begin towards. So those are some things to think about at the beginning of this intention, this introduction to a creative journey. Where are you going? A journey means that you're moving towards something. And it also means having the right mindset to begin. So once you kind of have your head wrapped around that, let's talk about the creative process. Creativity is not just about making art. it's a way of problem solving. It's a way of expressing ourselves. I think it's, I tell people a lot when they're grieving, this is a really good time to create. When you're angry, this is a really good time to create. When you're having any sort of emotion, this is a really good time to create. Feeling is really one the best and maybe only fuel for art. We really can get caught up in what we should be creating, but the real question is like, what do you want to make and why? So what do you feel is missing in the world? We say, make what you wish existed. That is so true. So what to create? Think about what you wish existed. A book, a painting, a song, a party. And don't get hung up on pre-existing mediums. You can hybrid anything. I think we're seeing the disruption of so many things, which is so great. And sometimes it's difficult to imagine things when we haven't seen them already. So I think hybrid techniques are really great to be able to say, well, I can take a little bit of that and a little bit of this and combine them. And that's a great way to start. Not all of us are the kinds of thinkers that can create something completely new out of nothing, right? Like we don't envision the butterfly and draw it on the paper without needing to like at least reference a butterfly out in a meadow or a Google search picture, right? Or to create an entirely new animal out of our minds. That's also really difficult for a lot of us. And it's actually, I talk about that in my second book, the Merriment making book. I talk about the three different types of creatives or creative thought processes, and that's one of them. So it's the least common to be able to create something like completely out of thin air, but that doesn't mean that it's any better or different, or it just is different. That's all it is. So what to create? Like I said, think about something that you wish existed. That's where your energy needs to go. Your creative energy anyway. And also, your masterpiece is not your business. Okay? Like, I want you to think about the things that you know from like famous painters or musicians that like from history. Okay? Vincent van Gogh, Starry Night, right? Andy Warhol, the soup can, right? I don't know. Like, the point is that there's so many people, there's so many art. That's the pull quote from this. There is so many art. They're not just painters, but poets, but everything. There's probably like one thing that you can reference, and it might be because it's their greatest work. It might be because it's their most popular work. It might not be the thing that they agree is their best. Honestly, it might not. It's usually not. But they didn't know when they sat down to create that thing that it was going to be their best, their most famous, their most popular, what they would die and people would then refer to as their masterpiece. They probably might even argue against it. And I want you to think about how many other paintings Van Gogh had. How many other pieces of work he did before and after Starry Night. How many other things every other poet has besides the one that we can maybe reference. Robert Frost. Like, I just, the point is that you have no idea what your tipping point is. You have no idea what the thing is that might be the thing that people will consider to be your masterpiece. So stop acting like there's so much pressure on it. But also, the nuance of that can be that every work gets to be treated like this could be the masterpiece, right? So we have to treat everything with care and deliberate intention. But you can't control how things are perceived out in the world, right? However, you do what you do best. You treat it like it's a masterpiece from head to toe. And then once it goes out in the world, it's free for interpretation. It's a gift. It's not your business anymore. And it might not even become a masterpiece until after you die, too. And that's also none of our business. So, this is the thing that we have to get past is how much all of this interpretation is none of our business. How much all of this, the only thing that is our business is the feeling that we have and the work we put into this. That's it. That is all that we know. That is all that we have. That is all that we can do. And we get sidetracked by the status, the fame, the ego, the criticism, the critique, the praise. And the best advice I can give you about any of that is, if you're going to take a criticism seriously, you have to take the praise seriously. If you're going to take the praise seriously, you have to take the criticism seriously. And if you can understand that, that means you have to take none of it true. Or all of it true. And once you understand that, I think you'll realize that it behooves you to forget it all. If you want to focus on what resonates with other people, once you realize, like, wow, this does touch others. This helps others. I love being empathetic towards others and creating change and creating evolution, creating revolution, creating a movement, creating love, creating change, creating emotion. That's, I think, different than being motivated and fueled by critique, criticism, and affirmation. Okay, so that's like kind of what to create. When to create is art will only get made when you're ready and inspired, which is why I say feel good to do good, right? So feeling good and taking care of yourself is so important. And there's so many lessons I have and modules and masterclasses and tools and resources in the Merriment Makers on feeling good, self-love, self-care. And again, if body acceptance is in the way of that, then please come to the body acceptance webinar on September 7th for free. But inspiration can be scheduled. It can be. I think that that's something that we don't really think about. And we don't consider the fact that how important it is to put ourselves in the way of beauty. How important it is for us to continually move ourselves into a place of visual inspiration, auditorial inspiration, people who inspire us, mentors, to be aware of the kinds of things that fill us up, to be conscious of what we're consuming, to be taking ourselves on solo dates, to be going to museums, to be going to cinema that is not dreadful and filled with war and fear, to be walking around museums, to be taking in people watching, to be drawing in sketchbooks, to be making gratitude lists, to be exploring new ideas, to be exploring new cities, to be reading poetry outdoors, to be listening to philosophical audiobooks while we drive, to be scrolling Pinterest boards, to be making our own mood boards, to be putting together good outfits in the morning, to be waking up earlier, to be having rituals, to be including ourselves in worlds of beautiful architecture, art, and goddesses of life. Like, there is so much outside of your house, and also to make your home beautiful. But you cannot be inspired by the same thing that you look at every day. It just really won't happen. Have you ever tried to make like a list and make of something and then you kind of look up and look around and you're trying to like look for inspiration, it's not going to happen. You're going to be inspired by what's around you. So you literally have to go somewhere. We are so scared of leaving the home. It's gotten so much worse since the pandemic. We are so socially anxious, and it is mostly because of a lack of practice. So I really want to encourage you to challenge that within yourself and to take micro steps to go outside. And it can literally just be outside alone, but just leave. And also try to have interpersonal interactions. And we must live a life worth commenting on. Pete Holmes talks about this so much. And you can't have a stand-up act as a comedian if all your life consists of is doing a stand-up act. There's a term in comedy of they have too much road on them, which means that all they've been doing for the past 2 years is going from small town to small town or whatever to stage to stage to stage. And they're traveling and they're on the road and they're driving and they're flying and they're just staying in a hotel and then they're performing and then they're going to the next place. There's not much time to live. There's not much else that they're doing. They haven't had any real experience, right? So, I mean, you might just notice that there's a lot of comedians that their jokes suffer because how many comedians have you heard say things about like, I travel a lot, so I'm in the airport and da 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 da, and it's like, yeah, because that's what they have to comment on. That's all they've experienced in the past 2 years, and sometimes they can make a really good joke out of it, but often it's because they have too much road on them. Do you have too much road on you? Do you have too much house on you? Do you have too much bedroom on you? Do you have too much couch on you? Do you have too much TV on you? Do you have too much screen on you? You need too much life on you, honey. You need a life worth commenting on. Your art will suffer. Your life will suffer. Your health will suffer. Your relationships will suffer. Your spirit will suffer. You need a life worth commenting on. And you have to schedule this. You have to put it in your calendar. You have to schedule inspiration. You have to schedule living a life worth commenting on. There needs to be days where there is no work, where there is no anything, where there is no other person even. And you go. And you let the land take you, however works for you. Okay, how to create. I'm going way too into detail on these, I'm giving you too much for how much time we have. Okay, how to create. Creating consistently is key. Doesn't matter. It's boring, but it's true. It doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, an hour a day. You have to use that time to take meaningful action. One small step. But again, remember, if you don't know what you're working towards, it doesn't matter either. So remember that crafting is a process and art is an exploration, right? So art is like, we don't really know. We're getting out a canvas and we're like, I don't really know what's going to happen with this, right? And it doesn't have to be literal. Like painting is just such an easy example, okay? I don't even paint. I don't even do that. So it's just an example, okay? So if you have a canvas and you're just like, I don't know where this can go, all right? And you have like palettes or whatever, and you make something up. The only thing that you're really confined to is the canvas. But once you have that painting and you're like, actually, I really love that painting, I'm going to recreate this painting 20 times, that becomes crafting, okay? Because you have a process that you're doing repeatedly, all right? So that's the difference between art and crafting. Art is coming up with a thing. Crafting is repeating it over and over again to perfect it. So you could argue that like painting and learning how to paint eyebrows over and over is a craft. Does that make sense? So both of these things are valuable. The vision, the exploration, all of that is valuable, and crafting to repeat, to refine is also very valuable. You need both. But also your mindset, your environment matter. You need a clean desk. You need a clean workspace. You need, like, I don't sit down to do anything unless I feel like I can focus, unless I feel like I have good lighting, unless I feel like I have a clean workspace. Because otherwise I'm so much air that I am just like, oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? And I need to worry that like I've got other programs running around in my head. So I'm like, "Oh, I need to write that down." So I get everything out onto my into my lists, and I'm like, okay, I know that I don't have to worry about that now. I know that I've like brain dumped, mind dumped it for later, and I can worry about that later. So I fix everything up. I write everything down. I light a candle. I fix the room. I fix the fan. I fix the lighting. And then I work. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You have to make things work for you. Don't let preparation become a procrastination. You got to prep. And you got to make it work for you. Like, make your stuff easy to see. Clear bins. Clear bins with everything. Hair ties and accessories and art supplies and all of it. Literally, if you can't see it, it won't exist to you, especially with our neuro quirky mind stuff. Can't see it, doesn't exist. You need clear bins, even though it looks junky. You won't remember it exists. And label it. But you just have to become someone that says, like, you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner, you brush your teeth in the morning, whenever, right? And at 4 o'clock every day or whenever it is, you make art for 20 minutes. It's not a goal, it just is, right? And this is true for anything that you want to change. It's just like, yeah, I don't know how I started brushing my teeth, but I just do it now. And I eat dinner, I guess because I feel the pain of hunger, but like I just do it now. What else is something that you just do it now? You take out the trash once a week, right? Something you just do it now. But instead of being like, I really would like to, you just say, no, every day at 4, I just do that. It's not even necessarily on the calendar. It's just there. You don't put brushing your teeth on the calendar, do you? You just, if you need to, you set an alarm. You just do it now. And you can just do 20 minutes a day. And if it, or 10 minutes. But if it moves into something larger, you can do that too. But you just do it now. So take this time to like write down something that you want to make. Don't overthink it. Just like write for a couple of minutes while I'm talking. What's the world missing? What do you wish existed? How do you want to contribute? How can you start today, even if it's just a small step? Okay, and then let's talk about imposter syndrome real quick. So this is something I would like to make into a real full episode, but everybody faces imposter syndrome. Well, I guess not everybody. There's like some very neurotypical people. There's like probably like 20% of the population, but at some point, I think the percentage is 75 that everybody in the world at some point will face it. At 75%. It's like 20 to 25% of the people are just like, I'm fine. It's the nagging voice in our head that tells us that we're not good enough or we don't deserve to call ourselves real artists, real writers, real creators. And it doesn't, it's not exclusive to creativity. It could be a real CEO, a real mother, real anything. But let me just tell you that almost everybody does experience this, like I said. And it's also, let me tell you, it's like heightened for creativity. So imposter syndrome shows up in a lot of ways: comparing yourself to others, not finishing projects, dismissing compliments, feeling like a fraud. Like, you might not even know that you have it, but this is like how it could be manifesting for you, right? The feelings are normal, they're natural, but they don't have to rule your life. They don't have to control you. So what you can do is you can just really, the antidote is self-esteem, okay? And not procrastinating. So you can start with like keeping a brag box where you keep all the praise that you've received. So go back and look for any time someone has left a nice comment, or you remember a nice thing that someone has said, or a time that you were featured in something, and it can go back to elementary school, kindergarten, preschool, doesn't matter. And affirm your identity as a real whatever you want to be, just a creative of any kind. And then Another thing that we need to do is share our work, because there's no way that we can get feedback unless we are sharing it. So I know that this kind of goes against the needing affirmation, needing praise, and like refuting the criticism, but this is a technique to overcome imposter syndrome, but it is not a crutch to keep. Okay? This is a symptom to address, but the injury is so like we always want to work on the injury, not the symptom, okay? But this is a simple crutch to assist you with walking, but it's not, you don't keep a crutch forever mostly, right? We ideally want to fix it so that you can walk back on your own. And affirming your reality as a real artist will only ever happen if you claim it for yourself. I can do everything that I can, and anyone else can say, you're a real artist, you're a real artist, you're amazing, you're fantastic, I love this, I love this, I love this. But no one can save you from yourself. Absolutely no one. It doesn't matter. Unless you believe it, it doesn't matter. So these are little boosts to help you. Affirmations, from a positive affirmation and mirror work to taking a comment off of Instagram, are boosts that are meant to assist your belief system in a transformation. They are not here to be an injection that changes you completely. It doesn't change your DNA. The only thing that can change you is you. And I think that the way to do that is with things like tapping and talking to yourself and looking at why. And the only way that those things even work is really acknowledging why you are afraid. Why are you scared of being an artist? Why are you scared of accepting this praise? Why are you afraid of being an artist? Why are you worried that you're a fraud? Why are you worried that, like, what's the like, tracing back to the worst case scenario? That's the real answer. Why, like, what is so much better about this person that you keep comparing yourself to? What do you worry that you're never going to have? If you finish this project, what's the worst thing that happens? If you share this with the world, what's the worst thing that happens? Why can't you accept this compliment? What's the worst thing that happens if you admit that you are this thing? If somebody finds out that you aren't completely well-versed in this subject, what's the worst thing that happens? Tracing that back and admitting that's the work that needs to be done. It's therapy, it's coaching. Like, that's the real stuff that needs to be done. It's not just a brag box is like, it's window dressing, really. But it can help. But it depends on how far back it is, But the roots are always what need to be addressed, the injury. So really just, I don't know, identify imposter syndrome and how it's showing up for you. Like, are you procrastinating? Are you comparing yourself? Like, what is it that's happening for you? And then set a specific goal to reduce what's happening. Are you disclaiming everything that's happening for yourself? Like, are you like, okay, so I know that this sucks, but, and then before you speak or share something, and just be like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Everything with imposter syndrome is based around fear. So it really requires exposure to doing the thing that scares you. So figure out what you're the scared of the most. Write down like a list of fears, and then slowly introduce yourself to doing the opposite. That's the best advice that I can give you with imposter syndrome. Okay, finding your voice. Your voice is unique because we all have different perspectives, and it is essential to lean into it instead of trying to mimic somebody else. So your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, they are the foundation of your voice. And by voice, I mean like anything that you're doing has a slant, an angle, a feeling that is just a little bit different than someone else who's doing the exact same thing, right? Like, so whether it's a mosaic or a lecture or a designer or an architect, you could both be given the exact same assignment, but your voice is what makes it feel different at the end. Like, ever just watched like one of those shows, like a baking show, right? Or everybody loves those things. Where they give them like do the cake show, and they give them the same assignment, but their voice is what makes those cakes look different at the end, right? You know what I mean? Like it's a cake race. It's like British, I think. There's probably more than one. It doesn't matter. You get the same ingredients, and at the end, the cakes all look different, and then they judge them. But their voices is what makes the cakes look different. And then the voices of the judges is what makes them decide which cake is the best, right? So I mentioned earlier about living a life worth commenting on, and that is key here. So the truth is that you have your voice before you even start creating, but it's easy to lose it it's easy to lose it by trying to conform to what we think we're supposed to be doing. So you got to think about what's real to you. You got to think about how you felt and why you started this in the first place. It's so easy, especially with everything that we have now. All these classes of like how to, simple templates, plug and play, and all the exposure that we have to the kinds of people that are in our industry, whatever it is, to be like, I'll just model myself after that. But how you feel at night, how you feel alone, the things that you're even angry about are the things that are important. That's really authentic, I think. So what are the things that you want to say but have been afraid to? That's real authenticity, is when you say shit that you're like, oh man, I think people are going to get angry about that. More fear. And more on that is like your voice is shaped by your life. So your experiences, your trauma, your joy, your relationships, it's important to not hide these parts of ourselves, I think. I think we can express them fully. I think that your audience will understand you better and connect with you more the less we hide ourselves. I think that's why you get me more. I think that's why you give a shit. And again, living a life worth commenting on. Have stuff to do. I think, and also that doesn't mean that you have to share every single part of yourself. So there's some stuff you don't know about me. You don't know every single detail, but it doesn't mean I'm hiding gross amounts of things from you. It just means like, you don't know everything that I did yesterday, right? Like, and you can also decide when to tell and share things. So you can learn how to be transparent and nuanced as well, right? And I think some mystery is good. So, okay, sharing your work. You have to share your work. You don't have to, but it's not necessarily doing any good if it's just in your room the whole time. So creating is only like one part of the process, right? Sharing is the other. So sharing your art is a form of communication. It allows other people to see and feel and connect with your experiences. So sharing your work it certainly isn't about gaining validation. It can be, like I said, but it's about contributing to the world. It's about offering representation. It's about evoking emotion, and you never know who might need to see it and why. So explore why sharing is a critical step for you and maybe why you've been scared to do it. And a lot of us are scared of sharing because we worry about rejection, right? We worry about criticism. And some of us even worry about like people stealing our stuff. But remember that if somebody is afraid to copy or if someone is, I'm saying this wrong. If you are afraid that someone is going to copy your work, it might mean that you haven't fully developed your own style yet, Like if your work is able to be fully copied, then maybe you're not fully authentic yet. Like I know the people that I know who are copied, it doesn't work because they can't do it well. They can't do it right. Like you can copy the template, you can copy the order, you can copy the even the copy, you can copy the writing, but it doesn't work because the person themselves isn't behind it. And they won't blow up the same way the other person did. And that's why feeling good and being a good person is such an important part of being an artist. It even if you're not literally on camera, it shines through. And also sharing is courageous and generous. And you can share in like social media, in galleries, community events. Really, there's a lot of ways to share, especially now. And it can align with your purpose. Like, what are you trying to do? Do you want to sell your art to promote a charity? Do you want to share your art to um, showcase a marginalized group? Do you want to share your art to get people to interact on the street? You know, considering the platform as it connects to your purpose is important. And we all have creative blocks. No one is immune to them. And there's mental blocks. And for those, you know, shifting your perspective, doing shadow work, doing reframing is good. Shadow work is like what I was talking about with like therapy and like really looking at things. It's a perspective shift and also looking at your fears. Emotional blocks is embracing the discomfort. And that means like not being, it's more fear. It's not being scared of the fact that you're scared. It's annoying. It's being like, oh my God, this sucks. And it's okay that it sucks. It's okay. It's okay that it sucks. It's okay that it sucks. It's not being necessarily grateful that it sucks. It's just being like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Okay. Why does this suck? And asking why it sucks. And not avoiding that it sucks and being like, okay, why am I scared? Why am I scared? Why am I scared? And then going into that deeper. Honestly, mental blocks and emotional blocks are very similar. You can meditate, you can do more shadow work, tapping, mirror work. A lot of it's talking and asking yourself a lot of these things. If you're having trouble focusing, I would say figure out a way to create a routine for yourself. There's always going to be life demanding your attention elsewhere. And I want to remind you that if you feel that you have the luxury to procrastinate, there is a sense of entitlement there. We do not know that we're going to have tomorrow. So get your ass in the seat and make your art. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to start saying no. Make a list of everything you have to do and star the top 3. And then make a new list with just those 3 things on it. You can also reduce your options, which is kind of the same thing. It's called Hick's Law. So like when I talk about the jelly overwhelm, that's essentially Hick's Law. So it would be much better if there were only 3 kinds of jelly on the shelf for me, or just 2. So if you can figure out a way to reduce your own options, that's ideal, which is why I say take the list of all the things you have to do, go through and star the ones that need to be done the most soon. And then take those physically off of the list and put them on a new list. So all you see are those 3. And then you're like, I can do these. And then if there is a way for you to discuss in your head or out loud with someone else about your own decision-making process and a way to simplify that, that is ideal. Because there's possibly an overthinking analysis paralysis with your own ability to say yes or no to things. So figure out if the way that you're approaching options is making it more difficult for you. If you are having a block with habits and routines, then look at things that annoy you every day. Look at stuff that's like getting in your way every day. Is it the fact that you have laundry and every day you get like there's so much like laundry to put away and you're like, oh my God, how am I supposed to, like, you get angry every day looking at it, or there's something broken in your house and you just can't focus because it's like there's like a leak or something, right? What physically is annoying you? What is logistically, physically annoying you every day so that you're, or distracting you, that you are unable to adhere to the habit or routine? And if you don't have a habit, then you need one. And create external reminders that will pull you out. So every day at this time, you get a reminder on your phone that pulls you out. And no matter what you're doing, you stop. And it's not, oh, that's great, I'm going to hit snooze on that, I'm just going to hit stop. No, it's pencils down, bitch, get up. That's the new behavior. And if you're feeling like the block that you're having is a resource restraint, then don't go into more debt. And work with what you got, man. Like, show me what you're working with. There's no reason that you can't do something now. The way that we live right now, the poorest person in America has so much more than an artist 300 years ago. What we have right now is incredible. And you do not need to keep up with the Joneses to create something cool. You just don't. I want you to think about all of the poets and painters and philosophers and artists and performers in the mid-century or AD, like, you know, just the year 2, okay? And that these people are still being discussed and that they are still so prolific and that they didn't have running water, okay? You don't need a new camera. You don't need lights. You don't need anything. Go outside and write. Go outside and paint. They used berries for their paint and their makeup, okay? We all know who Cleopatra was, and it was a long, long time ago. You can do this. You don't need to charge up a credit card. You don't need to order a new thing from Amazon. And frankly, if you're creative, you can problem solve creatively around your limitations. Stop waiting for the new thing. Stop having a fallacy of when it will be better, I will be happy. As soon as I get this new pair of this, I could be finally successful because I will be creative. No. If you are creative, which you are, do it now well with what you have. Okay, that was a lot for free. And if you want to learn more, I have a lot of more resources. You know, creativity is a journey. It's not something, it's an infinite game. It's not something that you can win. So you've taken some really important steps today in exploring this infinite game, and just take a moment to reflect on what you've learned. What's one thing that you want to take away from this workshop and something that you want to act on, you know? And remember that your voice deserves to be heard, okay? And if you want more resources, so right here, over here I have a list of all the things that are in the creativity module in the Merriment Makers Masterclass. or Merriment Makers creativity module. Okay. So there's a creativity masterclass. There's 2 sets of journaling prompts. There's an affirmation mood boost pep talk audio. There's a creativity blocks podcast. There's a vision podcast. There's EFT tapping for creativity. There's 100 ways to be creative. There's a resource kit. There's 50 ways to be crafty at work. There's the land of no, finding and naming your creative dream, affirmations for your creative dream, 4 challenges, phone backgrounds, art posters, desktop backgrounds, inspirational quote images, Pinterest board, playlist, bonus affirmations, and book recommendations. And that is a lot of stuff in one module inside of the Merriment Makers, where there are 30 more modules. This is just the one on creativity. Now, in the creativity, and also the creative masterclass has way more of what we were talking about today, and I skimmed the surface of each topic. Now, I also have a book, the Merriment Making book, which I referenced earlier in this. And in there, I talk about stuff that I do not talk about in the Merriment Making module of creativity, but you do get access to this book, the PDF version, when you join the Merriment Makers, which is worth $100. So we talk about pride in creativity. We talk about what creativity is. We talk about types of creativity, the 3 big ways to create. Remember, I was talking about like if you create something out of thin air, and there's 2 other kinds, how creativity exposes us, what creative blocks really are. Don't sell your unused creativity at your estate sale. Create when your emotions are raw, creative intelligences, the 8 different kinds, and activity ideas based on what yours is, and how to start, continue, and keep creating. Also, when you join the Merriment Makers, you get access to 90 plus archives of lessons of the Operation Merriment, which are these educational talks based on unusual holidays that include DIY tutorials and printables for kindness missions. So, like, for example, so today, August 26th, is National Toilet Paper Day, right? So back when it was toilet paper the first time, when we were doing Operation Merriment, I give this whole lecture, a slideshow with like what happened, the history of Toilet Paper Day, the history of toilet paper, where things were coming from, like all these interesting facts, trivia, ways to celebrate Toilet Paper Day, and then we make something out of a toilet paper roll, right? So it's really fun. It's ways to be creative. There's over 90 options, and they're really fun. They're really silly. You get these mood boards. You get like, it's so cute. Okay. And that's just another additional thing that you get when you join the Merriment Makers. Honestly, the Merriment Makers you'll never run out of things to do. It's insane. It's my life's work. Okay. Plus, if you're worried about like procrastination, there's a whole motivation and procrastination module in the Merriment Makers, and in the Merriment Making book, in chapter 9, we cover creativity, and in chapter 5, we cover motivation. So there's so much. I mean, that we're talking about today that's just available for that. And I mean, again, there's 30 modules. There's 8 new modules a year. You get good news texts. You get daily downloads. There's 3 new things every day. There's a chat community. You get mail. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. Go to uncustomary.org/merriment-makers to get in on that. It's so good. Truly so good. Okay. Now here are your affirmations for creativity. They are, I channel my challenges into my art. Okay. So let's say that together. I channel my challenges into my art. Say it one more time. I channel my challenges into my art. And the second one is anything I can imagine, I can create. One more time. Anything I can imagine, I can create. Last time. Anything I can imagine, I can create. Okay. And for your homework, I think that I want you to make a list of your fears. I want you to make a list of your fears of imposter syndrome. What are you afraid of in terms of being an artist? And then I want you to expose yourself to one of them slowly. Just take one little micro step. And I want you to spend 20 minutes creating for your art. Okay? So, to recap your homework, I want you to make a list of your fears as it relates to imposter syndrome. What are you afraid of in terms of being a fraud, or are you scared to complete a task? Are you scared to finish something? Are you scared to share your work? Are you scared to identify or share the fact that you are an artist? Are you scared to not make money? Are you scared to not be famous? Are you scared to not be authentic? Are you scared to share your life? Are you scared to like, what danger do you feel in terms of being an artist or a creative? And then I want you to expose yourself to one of those things very slowly. And the other piece of homework is for you to what did I say? Oh, to just have uninterrupted creation time for 20 minutes. Okay? And lastly, your mission deck pull from the Merriment Making Missions deck with 111 kinds of cards for activities for you to do in embodying, creating, and spreading joy out in the real world is to create a nature mandala. So mandalas are just like those circles that are really fun and peaceful. And this was actually an Operation Merriment mission that we did. I don't think I've talked too much about Operation Merriment on here before. So I drew this card. There's, 7 different kinds of options, and they're all different shapes. So anything circle in the deck is a creativity pull. So I pulled this picture up of one of the ones that I made, and that is another option for you in terms of homework. All right, so if you haven't already, it would be amazing if you could like this episode. And if you know anyone who's creative and wants to make more art, or you would love to see their art in the world, you can share this with them. And I would love for you to check out the Merriment Makers. I would love for you to sign up for the free body acceptance webinar that's going through the ticker right here at the bottom, uncustomary.org/accept, ACCEPT, and that's on September 7th. And the Merriment Makers right now is 70% off, and you can get $30 off your first month to try it out. Okay, so I will see you next time. You have to feel good